a young girl who was saying that the Nigerian community here is totally very angry. It covers all those aspects affecting the various sectors of our team. Birth was the Ijaw country at the Niger Delta of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He went to several schools. His major academic genesis was at the government college, Ujeli. And
go gather, destroy their food. Motivated camp and that other camp, the Songo camp, you don't compensate everybody.
In its key generation sometimes. Today our focus will be on the style of J.P. Clark, a poet and writer, and we shall also be very interested in his poem Akbar Dancer.
Some lives are meaningful, some are empty. There are the lives that are eventful, with too much meaning and riches to offer humankind. Long after some of these earthly adventures are no more, one can still find footprints of these great lives on the pavements of our contemporary lives.
Good evening, you're welcome to the program Green Planet.
He's also a great footballer. Give him a hand for that. It's a bigger. That's why we used to say the real footballers are not in the pitch. Those guys are not supposed to be there. The real guys are not there. They are parading powerful corridors in big universities. So, our director is going to talk on, can patrons, sub-patrons, and mini-patrons be the reason for slow market entries in sub-Saharan Africa? My little friend, you have the floor.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very proud to get you here, and I'm really very pleased to be talking to you. This article seeks to establish whether widely practiced patrimonialism in sub-Saharan Africa is critically responsible for the lack of a market entry environment or market sustaining environment after entry in sub-Saharan Africa. It argues that patrimonialism has led to the personalization of the government, resources and services, hence preventing objective, skill-based and targeted delivery, which can lead to growth and poverty alleviation in these countries, because resources for the poor, majority, have been shared among cronies and the people who support them. It also proposes that there has also been an error of semantics which affects understanding of actual sub-Saharan African patrimonialism, in quotes, which may have unwittingly affected the flow of foreign direct investments into this region, thereby engraving poverty and stagnating economic and technological advancement in a region known to be blessed with several mineral resources. This work is based on academic research and personal experiences of the speaker. To begin with, it will be impossible to understand patrimonialism, especially as understood in the academic world, or even patrons, sub-patrons, and mini-patrons at their various levels, if a conscious importation of development theories that explain or justify this issue is not done. AK, in 1975, defines a patrimonial system as that which customs and patrimonialism coexist and submerge objective legal and legitimate institutions which in other systems are responsible for mediating political and socioeconomic behavior and societal stability, thereby preventing the rule of law and an enabling environment for foreign direct investments enhanced by weak structures, corruption, lack of infrastructures, technologies, and so on. This view is strong to the opinion. Despite patrimonialism being a sub-Saharan African custom, it is a system that was deeply rooted
in colonial administration of these territories,
also handed down by colonial authorities or captured by allies of newly independent African countries in the 1960s as a new form of government and governance, which in many respects has been maintained today. If you read articles by Bates in 1981 and Bayat in 1993, they will justify this assertion. To other scholars, patrimonialism is in the core of sub-Saharan cultural fabric, to such an extent that Shazbek in 1993 holds, in quote, "The imagery and language of father and family is widespread in Africa because they strike a resonant and deeply embedded cultural chord." In this paper, it is considered as a somewhat mutation
of sub-Saharan cultural fatherhood or patrimonialism and its benefits for a system of fathers wherein people of authority, power and affluence divert the resources of given societies for their personal uses because they have the immunities and power to do so against the will of the majority, and because the economic, political and sometimes natural terrains have prevented effective policies or institutions, finances to overturn their excesses, hence affecting foreign direct investments aimed at growth, poverty alleviation, because invested resources never trickle down or trickle down so slowly due to maliciously generated bureaucratic bottlenecks.
The effects of a lack in enabling environments and the impacts of selective governance and control over countries by few persons has led to patrons at different levels of societies, like in central government, state government, provincial or federal government, local government to cities, towns and villages, hence the use of patrons, sub-patrons and mini-patrons in this paper. Market entry is considered here as foreign direct investments or any such foreign conceptualized intervention aimed at benefiting another country directly or indirectly, hence including the work of multinational companies, international non-governmental organizations, and charities. How does patrimonialism translate itself? Patrimonialism in sub-Saharan African countries is manifested in many ways. We can hardly describe all its forms in this paper, knowing it constantly changes its forms and manifestation with changing international and national temperaments.
Strangely, despite privatization in 2002, over 500 million people in sub-Saharan Africa still lacked access to electricity, of which 80% lived in rural areas.
The situation was even enhanced by austerity measures for privatization undertaken by donor institutions like the World Bank and the IMF that saw World Bank lending for provision of public electricity utilities fall from US dollars 2.9 billion in 1990 to US dollars 824 million in 2001, and had sector lending targeting private investors in the region plummeted from US $45 million to US $687 million. This arguably has not led to better access to electricity in the region, as private energy companies have scraped cross subsidies in some countries and concentrated their resources on city centers with high revenues than rural areas which ironically need energy in order to be mainstreamed into regional and global economic activities.
It was so much exciting, and I like the presentation, I like the initiative, I like everything about it. It's a good program that is going to enhance a lot of Africans.
Very, very positive. I want to say I'm very, very impressed. First, with the organizer, the director of African Center for Community and Development, for the choice of topics that represented today. I'm equally very impressed with the presentations that were delivered. But most of all, I was from the beginning. I saw when people came in, and I saw when they left. When they were going home, I saw improvements in their faces.
And we shall also be very interested in this poem, Akbo Dancer.
Some lives are meaningful, some are empty. There are the lives that are eventful, with too much meaning and riches to offer humankind. Long after some of these earthly adventures and no more, one can still find footprints of these great lives on the pavements of our contemporary lives.
Good evening, you're welcome to the program Green Planet.